This episode of Super Pulp Science is brought to you by Time Travel. It's totally possible. All you have to do is record a podcast weeks ago and forget to put it up before the event that it's talking about. And there you go. Now we can travel back in time to the heady days of early June as I, producer Dan, sat down with Gregory, Justin, and Samantha Biko to talk about a little event called FanQuest.
Attention, citizens. It's time for Super Pulp Science.
Welcome to Super Pulp Science, where we talk about how genre is made. I'm here with my long-suffering co-host, Gregory Kmichuk.
Hello. I've just eaten a carrot, so Justin did the introduction while I finished chewing.
The boss, Sam Biko.
Hello. We've got some good fruit and vegetable foley here for you this week.
Yeah, so pro tip, podcasters, oranges and carrots are no for food snacks to have on the
guess
table.
what? Guess who has bowls of two of those things in front of him?
That would be Justin Curry. You know what else we have in front of us? We have Dan Vadeboncoeur.
Hello. How are you?
We're doing great. We've got you in the hot seat today, Dan.
This is the seat I always sit in.
So Dan, in full disclosure, dear listeners, was a little uncomfortable with our suggestion of the podcast today, but because he's a man with a big heart, he is going to let us come at him, bro.
And because Gregory is very good at peer pressure, come on.
I just have to bow. I can't give it. I can't stand up to it. To be fair, I'm not uncomfortable. It's just I've been spending, it's like almost 24 hours a day thinking about the event coming up, and I just this is a bit of a break for me. I come to help you guys with the podcast and record it. We get to talk about you guys and your stuff, and so I'm completely comfortable with talking about this. I talk about it all the time.
Is it too much?
Is what too much?
So, dear listeners, Dan is organizing FanQuest, which we've mentioned a number of times leading up to the event. But since this podcast is supposed to be about things that you may also want to do creatively or businessally, is that a word?
Nope.
No.
Oh, I'm glad I have my editor here.
Yeah, and also
What's a better word than
like,
businessally?
like commerce or
Business-wise?
Business-wise.
Business-wise? That assumes wisdom on your part, Dan.
Well, wisdom about... I'm not wise about business, though.
No?
That's the worst part of this for me. I hate that stuff.
Okay, so let's talk about running a show. You had an idea for a
now
show.
That that's been said.
Now that
Dan
said.
is qualified.
I love the event. I love the people coming. All that stuff is great. It's just the nuts and bolts and the paying the fees and the booking all the stuff.
And the
that's
logistics.
The part. Yeah, that's the stuff that... it's not my favorite thing to do, but it has to be done. You can't have the event without these things, right? So I forced myself into those places to get that stuff done.
So you have endeavored to create a fan-centered pop culture event here in Winnipeg. This is the second year.
Yes.
And you are part of a board. You have a board.
It's not a board. It's just a group. It's just a committee. It's like a group of like-minded individuals who all want the same thing. We want to have a good event. So a
collective or
just a like we're a Facebook group. That's what we are.
Right.
We essentially
Fellowship.
We don't really meet very often because it's very difficult to get everybody in the same place. But Facebook, this is one of the benefits of Facebook. It serves as a way for us to be in touch with each other all the time about anything. So if anything occurs to us, we just talk about it in the group. Yes, you in the corner.
Thank you, dear listener. I raised my hand so that I could jump in here. So running an event of this scale, or just like you said, it's a lot of nuts and bolts and a lot of logistics. Can you talk about the origins or inception or the need that you saw in the community to create an event such as FanQuest?
Yeah,
why would you do this to yourself, Dan?
Well, I didn't. Okay, so to be fair, full disclosure, I've talked about this on my podcast. In the past, when we did launch all of this, I worked with another convention for a year. I was executive director of another convention. That just kind of happened. It was just like a right place, right time. They were looking for somebody, and I came in at the right time, and I had the right skills they were looking for. So I worked with this other convention, and it was like the events themselves are awesome. And you guys know, all go to these events. They're so good. The people who go, the fandoms on display. I love it. I love all aspects of that. Organizationally, we didn't agree on a lot of things, so I ended up leaving after a year. But I still felt the need to do something, to want to create an event, to gather fans together to celebrate these things that we love. So that's why I thought, well, let's just do it myself. I don't need to. They don't own the process of throwing a con. Anybody can do it, right?
Right.
So let's just do it. And that's kind of the biggest takeaway I had from that experience, is that I can do this. This is something that,
So we've had filmmakers and authors and artists and comic book makers and all kinds of creative folks on the show, and we always ask them the same thing. Once you are making it, does it change your relationship with it?
Yes, I certainly think that is the case for the first year, where I kind of ran myself ragged. I don't know if you guys, I know you were there, Greg, and I don't know how much you saw of me in that weekend last year, but I was just very, very stressed and very, very worried about things, and I did not enjoy the weekend at all.
Right, but I did see you a number of times, which was to your credit, because it felt like you checked in on everybody.
Well, yeah, for sure.
Right?
But it was like I was just thinking about other stuff and worrying about other stuff. And it's something, so to learn from that experience, I'm not going to do that this year. I'm just going to enjoy. The reason I put this event together is because I want to go to this event. I want to have an event that I'm going to have fun at. And I'm not having fun if I'm worrying about a million things. So I'm just
kind of like write the books you want to read, make the comics you want to read,
so
make the show you want to go to.
I've made the decision that I'm not good at the running around putting out fires kind of thing. I've got someone who's good at that in my group and in my committee. I'm going to be mostly in the programming area doing panels and Q&As and that kind of stuff, because that's what I really enjoy doing, and I really have a good time with that, and I like the audience interaction and that kind of stuff. So that's kind of where I'm going to be most of the weekend. So
hold on. So it sounds like you learned from the first show.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
And you found some people to do the job.
Yep. Yeah, we did. I very much learned from that. So it did change my relationship with the conventions that I'd been to before. But now I'm just kind of hoping to massage that relationship a bit and make it better on my perspective, from my perspective. Right?
Yeah.
I was kind of curious about something. Just especially in the last couple of years, every city has started to have multiple Comic-Cons and anime conventions and stuff like that. When you're starting a new convention, is there, I don't know, some kind of the city or some kind of council that says there's too many, there's 4 Comic-Cons in July all in the same area, we don't want you guys doing this, or you guys are having competing anime conventions across the street from each other, we don't want that happening? Does the city ever...
Like the city of Winnipeg?
Well, not...
Is there a license required?
No.
For the people who are wondering how it all works, there's no oversight, right?
No. There's no laws governing this type of an event.
So if you wanted to compete with another Comic-Con in the city, you could have one the exact same weekend and try to...
Yeah, that's not a good idea, though.
No,
that's just splitting the audience.
Of course. But...
You know what I mean? Everybody... Actually, Winnipeg is a great convention community, and there's many, many people who will come out to everything. And one of the mistakes we made the first year out is we scheduled our event the weekend after KeyCon, which is a long-running convention. It's 30-something, 35 years or something it's been going.
Yeah.
And
long time.
I did not even think of that. I looked at the dates. I looked at the other conventions. I knew of KeyCon. I just didn't think of it. I missed that detail. And so we'd inadvertently scheduled ourselves the weekend after KeyCon, and we got a bit of heat for that. It was completely unintentional, and I don't know if it affected our attendance at all, but there was some pushback as far as it's too close, right? And so we've kind of scheduled ours in June, and it's kind of working out. There's a lot in Winnipeg. I would argue, I don't know if you guys could probably confirm this more than I could, more per capita in Winnipeg than any other city in Canada. Does that sound...
Well, there are quite a few.
There's lots. I don't know, though. Maybe just Winnipeg is 750,000 people, give or take.
It's getting closer to 800 now.
I would say so. I often, when I hang out with friends from other cities like Calgary and Toronto and Vancouver, I often ask them about all the local events that they do, because we do quite a few, every little anime and comic convention that we can get to, and book markets
and craft fairs.
Craft fair, we do as much locally as we can, and it sounds like most of my other friends in other cities don't, and part of it is just because there's not as many to choose from. So it does sound like Winnipeg has a lot more of those events than...
We can neither confirm nor deny this,
Yeah,
dear
we
listener.
need some
It
hard
bears
numbers.
out further research.
We need some hard numbers on that, but it just feels to me like there's almost there's one every month, which seems to me that most people are okay with. And we have, for example, we had last few months we had in April was the Manitoba Comic Con. May was KeyCon. June is FanQuest. July is Icon. And I don't think there's anything in August, but that seems to be, everyone's kind of okay with that. Give yourself about a month buffer between similarly themed events. We're certainly not an anime convention by any means, and Icon is the anime convention in Winnipeg. We're not looking to compete with Icon. In fact, they have a table at our event. They're going to cross promote their event at our event. And they're great people. I was at Winterfest promoting FanQuest at their other convention.
Yeah.
So we like to work with these other groups as much as possible because we all are in it for the celebration.
I don't understand. You're celebrating?
They're celebrating. I'm drinking.
Can you talk a little bit about what sets kind of FanQuest apart from all of these things, like from a market, from a comic festival, from a Comic Con?
We didn't. That was one of the first big fights in our group when we first gathered together. Is this a Comic Con or is it another kind of con? And I didn't want it to be called a Comic Con because there's a bit of debate in the community about what constitutes a comic convention. I remember I read a piece recently about even the San Diego Comic Convention, which is the biggest one in the world. There was a long-running comic book seller who's not going this year because his business has just dropped, and as the more the studios take over and it's more about movies and other properties, video games and that kind of stuff, it's just not as much about the comics. So there are some comics. Obviously you guys are going to be there selling your comics. There are comics at our convention. Yep. It is also other fandoms, sci-fi, fantasy, anything that has like a dedicated following of people who love what it is that they're talking about is something that we celebrate here. So what sets us apart? Well, one of the things we wanted to do, I'm not a huge fan of the autograph system.
I was hoping you'd bring that up. This is my favorite thing about what you guys do.
I saw what was happening at other conventions. My first experience with this was going to I'm thinking this was your first convention, Justin, in 2008. I'm sure it was. Was that at the Victoria Inn?
No, 2008 was the first time C4 had moved into the
convention. Okay, so it was the year
center.
before. The year before that, I went to, it was Manitoba Comic Con, and David Prowse was there, and it was, I don't remember how much it was to get in. I was a poor student at the time. I didn't have a ton of money, and I was very excited to meet David Prowse and Nicole. Margot Kidder. I was going to say Nicole Kidman. No, Margot Kidder, who unfortunately recently passed away, but she was there as well, and I was excited to meet these people. I had no idea it was going to cost money to get an autograph, and I did not budget for that. I had brought no money other than money to get in, and then some money for food or something. And I didn't have any money but I didn't feel comfortable going up to David Prowse. And there was nobody there. I could have just walked up to him and talked to him. Yeah. But as a new person at the convention, who'd never been to before, I didn't feel comfortable going up and not buying a print or buying an autograph from him. So I felt that barrier between myself and David Prowse, and it was not the Force. It was it was kind of like the Force. But in kind of a twist of fate, ended up beside him at the next urinal in the washroom later on that day. So
you did meet him.
I did not talk to him.
No,
I did not talk to him in that situation. But I did get to stand beside David Prowse in the men's room.
And I mean that model of the Comic Con.
That's when you whisper. Once I was but the student. No, once I was but the student.
At the urinal.
No, I am the master.
And he's just like,
at the urinal. Yeah.
Only a master of evil doth. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry. So that model of the Comic Con where you have to pay to get in, and then you have to pay to get the autograph, which is usually what gets people to go to these conventions, has become even more cost prohibitive since then, like in the intervening 10 years since.
Oh, I know, and that's what I saw when I was working at the events. I saw that you charge people a fee to get in, then they go around and they see all these celebrities, and the celebrities are a big draw for a lot of people. And so then it's I think with David Prowse is maybe $20, and now it's like $80 or $100 for some people. And so I just wanted to take away that barrier between people. I wanted people to meet. I mean, we're still small. We're not talking about huge celebrities here, but we're talking about interesting people who contribute to fandoms and start and have done something.
You have someone who's in the writers' room on Star Wars coming.
Kind of, yes. Pablo Hidalgo is he's called the Lucasfilm Story Group. Right. So he's part of the group that kind of oversees all of the Star Wars properties and kind of guides the ship, as it were, and says, okay, well, this is, and he knows what's going to happen like 10 years out right now for Star Wars. And he can't talk about any of it, but he's from Winnipeg too, which is really cool. So he's from here. He's coming back home, and he's been a part of this machine for almost 20 years now. But in the last 5 years, as we've had all this stuff happens as Disney bought the company, he's got some good insight into that. So he's not on camera. He's not a movie star.
Right.
Although he was in Revenge of the Sith. To be fair, he wore a goofy costume in Revenge of the Sith in the Opera House scene.
Okay.
But if you pause it, you can just see him walking by. So he's behind the scenes. Another guy who's behind the scenes is Steve Kostansky, who's also from Winnipeg, and he's a filmmaker, and he made such classics as Man-Borg and The Void. The Void, which are two very good, Man-Borg is one thing. It's like how to make a super low-budget movie, like it was $1,000 or something ridiculous, but it still make it fun and interesting. The Void is more of a legitimate film, very much kind of...
Well, both are legitimate films.
Right.
They're just for different audiences.
Yes, exactly.
The Void is definitely in the category of, like, if you're interested in practical effects at all as an indie filmmaker, you should definitely watch The Void for that.
Oh, it's good. And we're screening it if you want to come watch it at Cinematheque. Nice segue.
And you've got some DS9 creds.
Yes. So Nicole DeBoer, who is Esri Dax on DS9, she's our one kind of... Well, not our one, but she's like an actor, Canadian actress who works out of Toronto, does some work in LA still. But she was best known as Esri Dax on Deep Space Nine, but she's also in a film called Cube, which we're also screening in Cinematheque.
Yeah.
And she's, again, people want to come and meet her. They loved her in that show. They want to come and meet her. We're not going to charge them for autographs. They can walk up to her table, say hi, tell them about how much they love her character or whatever, love her work, and she'll sign something for them, and that's it. So there's no cost. Once you pay to get in, there's no extra cost for anything else, except for your stuff, of course. You guys aren't
like if they go into the vendor stuff, but you're organizing this. You had to reach out to, how do you broach? Okay, let me preface this. Sam laid out sort of the current economics of con world, right? So calling up somebody's agent and saying, we'd like you to come down to the show. We'd like you to also appreciate that we don't want you to charge for autographs. Must have made for a interesting set of conversations.
Yeah, the people definitely pushed back. Like, they're like, "What do you want to do? What now?" Because in reality, the charging for autographs system is a way for the con organizers to not have to pay for the talent to come in. It's called a guarantee, and I've talked about this on the podcast, my podcast. So they agree to a dollar amount that they will guarantee that this person can make through autograph sales. If the celebrity guest makes that amount of money, then the con doesn't have to pay anything. And if they make more than that amount of money, then great, it's just extra stuff. But if they don't, for example, if they only make half of what they're promised, then the con picks up the difference. Either way, it's cheaper for the con to bring in a guest. And this is, I can see where the system came from, because it was a way to get bigger celebrities into smaller conventions and have people connect with them, and it doesn't put the convention on the hook for the money.
Right.
But
you were taking it from the user experience of, like, a person that doesn't know a show takes a chance on a show, walks into a show. You don't want them to be blindsided by another fee.
Yeah, exactly. Right? And so that's what I get when I tell people about this. They're like, "Wait a minute, why wouldn't you want the Congors to pay for the autographs?" And I'm like, well, because we're trying to make it an all-inclusive thing. So they do get that. The big pushback I'm getting is that they want to limit. They don't want. I guess there's a monetary value associated with these autographs, and they're concerned about people who will come and bring 10
or 40 things,
right? And here, so we are limiting it to one per person, and blah blah blah. But and we're actually going to keep an eye on how many autographs are signed, and
so one way that it's managed in or some comic book celebrities manage it, because here's a problem that happens. If they offer free autographs, someone shows up with 10 books, they autograph them, those 10 books end up on eBay in an hour.
Yes.
So I've been seeing lately little signs on people's things that say personalized, free, right? Signatures, whatever dollar amount. So if it says to Dan, it's free, because on eBay that's worth a lot less, right? But if it's just their signature, then you have to pay for it.
And we're saying that as well. Personalized autograph, because it's not really about the autograph. It's about the experience.
Right.
It's about meeting the person and remembering the experience, and the autograph is a memento of that.
Yeah.
So they can get their Esri Dax figures signed by the actors who portrayed her in the show, and then it'll say to Dan from Nicole or whatever.
But it could be a really easy way to politely kind of the psychology will limit it, right?
Yes.
You won't bring 50 things for someone to sign to you because it reinforces that you're using up their time. It's like, oh, this is to Dan.
And the fact that we're not charging gives us the right to do that.
Yeah.
Because people were saying, well, I brought $100 here. I should be able to get 5 autographs because I'm paying for them.
Yeah.
But we're saying it's free, but we're only asking 1 item per person, personalized. That's it.
Mr. Simpson will now be autographing 8x10 glossies of Poochie. 1 per customer. Please form a line. There will be no cutting. Pardon me, look out. Pardon me, excuse me, hot soup. Hi. Kindly make 1 out to me and 3 out to my friend of the same name.
Do you have a politeness police assigned to your show?
Well, all of our, what do you mean? All of our committee members are pretty polite.
Yeah.
So
Will they
we're
have
trying-
truncheons to enforce their politeness?
That's right. Yes.
It's like a polite sheriff's badge. Like, if you could please stop that. My authority.
Yeah.
And the other thing is we have another thing we're calling Guest Quest, but I really want a new name for it because I'm not loving that. But the idea is that it's a smaller kind of, you can also go to the Q&As, which is in a theater where people can kind of gather and ask questions. But we're also having a, kind of a session where you can sit down in a small group of maybe 10 people and like be one-on-one, like at this table, like we're sitting right here, and talk to the guests in a more intimate setting and ask them questions and just talk to them about what it's like to be.
And that's not a paid thing either.
No, that's included. Although
But
we
it's
have to
first come,
limit.
first serve.
Yeah, it is first come, first serve. We have to limit the amount, so we just have tickets, and you show up, get your ticket, and that's it. And yeah, we have to kind of limit that.
What a marvelous. That's great.
But Pablo, I've been emailing with Pablo, and he says he's starting to see that other conventions he's been to. So it's not a completely unique idea, but I think it's a good one.
Yeah.
And so we're doing that as well. So there's that's kind of the main thing that sets us apart from other conventions, I would say.
Can you hazard a guess at the number of emails and correspondences that were required by you as a result of putting on this show?
I don't delete my emails, so I can look. Actually, I just got a notification saying I'm at 90% of my email capacity.
Due to FanQuest.
Yeah, I don't. It doesn't say how many.
This
emails
episode of Super Bowl Science is
I have
brought to you by-
1,500 emails in my inbox. So.
And what percentage of those are just FanQuest related?
They're all It's all FanQuest.
All of it.
Because
Great.
it's FanQuest, my FanQuest email. So.
But that includes last year?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had the
1,500.
same email address since we started. So.
So
I mean, there was
each
a
of those
handful at the very
required a
beginning.
response.
Yeah, some of them are spam. Some of them are. It's interesting. The one aspect of this that I didn't know anything about was the booking of guests and how to go about approaching people and all that stuff. And so I'm like, I had. Some of us had contact just through people we met at cons and that kind of stuff. So we kind of reached out to them. Most established agents are working within the system that we're trying to break free of. So it was a little tricky. So we have done some kind of circumventing of that system by approaching people through other contacts. For example, for Pablo Hidalgo, he is a graduate of the program that I teach in, Creative Communications.
Right.
So he's from Winnipeg. He graduated from that program back in '96. I have his contact through the college, and he came to speak to our students last time he was in Winnipeg, so we had that connection. And I also talked to him. I used to talk to him quite a bit on social media. So we just, we kind of know each other. So I just emailed him and said, hey, do you want to come to Winnipeg for this? Right. And that kind of thing. Another one of our guests that we haven't mentioned yet is Kevin McDonald, who's, of course, known best for the Kids in the Hall.
Kids in the Hall, yeah.
A whole lot of Milka. That's like my favorite sketch he's ever done. But he is, obviously Kids in the Hall is the iconic Canadian sketch comedy show. But he's also done a lot of voice work, and we're trying to celebrate animation as part of what we're doing. So he's the voice of Pleakley in the Lilo and Stitch series every single time. Every single time there's been Pleakley in the TV show, or even in the ride. I went on the Stitch ride at Disney World 2 years ago, and his voice is in there.
Still him. Wow.
And so he's done that. He was also part of a somewhat short-lived animated series called Invader Zim, which also has it's a good show. It's got a very, very dedicated following.
Huge cult following.
And it's got a very cool art style, I would say, to that show. Although he's not the main character, he plays the tallest purple, which is like one of the leaders. These two guys, they're in charge because they're the two tallest guys in the planet. Anyway,
Zim is very short.
I understand that.
They're
As
all
a tall
very
person, that's an interesting meritocracy I could get behind.
So anyway, he's
Not in this office.
Greg is the tallest purple.
I am the smallest, and I rule everyone.
Smallest purple is in charge here.
Yes.
He is going to come talk about his voice work and what he does as far as voice voice work and that kind of stuff. And I got a hold of him through the Cinematheque because he does these movie screenings every month. He lives here, by the way, and that's what people are kind of what did I mean? He's been here for like a decade, I think. His partner lives here, and he's been in Winnipeg for a long time.
Yeah,
so,
his partner works in my neighborhood, so I see him all on the street all the time.
Yeah, so he...
And at first it was like, oh my gosh. But now it's like, oh yeah.
Hey, he's just another guy.
Yeah, just another guy.
So, and he's never been to a convention like this before. So he's very excited. This is his first experience at a convention, and we want to make it a good experience for him. That's another part of our... I mean, not that other cons don't do this, but we want everybody to have fun, including the guests. So, because they're fans, they've got to be fans as well, right? Hopefully, they're doing this kind of work. So yeah, that's kind of what we're getting at. I forgot what I was talking about. Sorry.
No, I wanted to jump in and say, gee, Dan, running a con sounds so glamorous and so fiscally rewarding. You must be
rolling around,
jumping in because I can't stop referencing DuckTales in your pool of gold coins, which somehow denying physics you just slide into instead of slamming into and
he
breaking
wipes the
your
sweat
neck.
off his brow with $50 bills.
That's right. He's currently doing that.
Very much not profitable, and I don't want to know how much of my own money I've sunk into this.
And you
thing.
don't draw a salary from this.
I do not know. Nobody does at this point. I mean, that's the goal is to get to the point where we can do that. Like we are a nonprofit. We're registered as a nonprofit, but it's all volunteer work, and it's just because we love doing it. It's like you guys have talked about this many times. If you found something you love to do, you just do it regardless. So let me tell you this. If you told me 10 years ago that I'd be organizing an event, I would have said you're crazy because I used to hate that. I still kind of hate it, but I like the result of it. So I'm willing to go through the pain of organizing it to enjoy the result.
Mm-hmm.
Let's fast forward 3 years.
Okay.
Right? So it's 3 years from now.
My favorite interview question.
FanQuest 20, whatever the math.
2021. Yeah.
That's 3 plus 18.
And that'll be the 5th year of the con.
5th year of the con. 5-year anniversary of the con. Guest you hope that you would rank. Programming that you would love to have leveled up to.
Or just scope.
Attendance.
Yeah.
That you...
See, it's hard to say. I would love to... I mean, obviously...
You won't be held to this, but let's dream together.
Like, what's your vision?
I'd like to be a fairly big show. Like, I would love to be in the convention center, although it's, not the best place to have an event, in my opinion, but I shouldn't say that because they're going to listen to this and not want to book us, but there are limited places in this town where you can book a convention of a certain size, and I want to get to that size of convention.
So what size is that? Give me that number.
20,000?
Okay.
20,000. I don't know if we'll be there by year 5, but that is the ultimate kind of being in that ballpark of that many people coming out. And guests, I mean, man, I've been surprised at what we could get given our small stature right now. And it is a lot about building relationships and kind of networking with people. And we think of ourselves as a networking convention in a way. For example, last year we had Patrick Sabongui in. He's a Canadian actor. He's best known right now as being Captain Singh on The Flash. So he's the police chief who comes in and yells at Barry whenever he screws up something. He's great. He's so good.
Yeah, he's great.
And he's been on more this season than he was in the previous season, which was great because he was on Homeland in the previous year. The year leading up to FanQuest, the first year, he'd been on Homeland all season. And then when Trump was elected president, they changed direction on Homeland and they kind of wrote his character out a bit. He was talking about that at FanQuest.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have him in. He had a great experience. He had a lot of fun. It was his first convention as well. And so then when...
Yeah, him and DC Douglas and we all went out for dinner after.
Right.
And they did have a great experience.
Good. I'm glad they did.
Yeah.
I'm very much glad they did. DC Douglas is a voice actor we brought in. And so what I want is for Patrick Sabongui to have, he has this experience now. And then when comes time for us to try and book Grant Gustin to come to FanQuest, of course, Grant Gustin is the Flash. Then he goes to the set and says, oh, yeah, they want me to go to this convention called FanQuest. And then Pat's like, oh, yeah, I went there. Their first year was really, really great experience.
That's your social engineering? Is that you just want to have been a good time so people want to come?
Yes. And Pablo has met Mark Hamel, right? Pablo Hidalgo has met everybody in Star Wars. So there's a good... Oh, yeah, we had Pablo Hidalgo on one year. And then they checked with Pablo and said, how was your experience with this con? He says, it was great. So there are it's networking within the community of booking guests and that kind of stuff as well. So I could say Grant Gustin is a guest I'd love to have in 3 years.
Okay.
What else?
So 20,000 people, some A-listers from
Yeah.
or key cast members from some fandoms.
And we definitely have a focus on Canadian talent and Canadian productions, and that's the Flash.
So Ryan Reynolds will be year 8. Year 8.
That's the next level. But in particular, actually, I'm watching The Expanse. Have you guys watched The Expanse?
Yes.
So good. And I'm looking at that going, there's so many good actors on that show that are Canadian. There's also, I don't remember his name now, but of course I always blank on names, but he's an actor who's in that show, but also in Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency. He plays like the taxi driver who then was...
He was originally the electrician.
Yes, that's right.
And then he just got stuck in the taxi.
With Bart, right?
Yes, and then he kind of is now a part of the organization
Right,
that created
right.
them.
So
He's like my favorite character on him and Bart. Like they're
their dynamic is
Yeah,
great.
their dynamic
and
is
also
my
his
favorite.
character like flip over.
Yeah.
I really did enjoy that.
That was so good. Anyway, I'd love to have him on. And anybody like that who's worked around Canadian sci-fi and television, because there's so much of that's produced here in Canada. So going with that, I like, Grant Gustin would be a part of that. Anybody who's part of those shows.
So long-term programming. So one of the things that I like about FanQuest and what I like about When Words Collide, I like shows that have programming where people can come. A room of 100 people or so, and
you can learn about the process.
Learn how the process is. You know, is that on your radar?
something we absolutely want to do more of. Of course, we have the Q&As with the guests, and they're talking about their craft. We have you guys have all agreed to do stuff for the panels, talking about your processes and what you're doing. Part of the theme of this year is like, let's get the next generation into this. If anybody's interested in doing this kind of stuff for a living, here's how you can do that. And it's somewhat inspired by this podcast and by what you guys are doing here, because I've just been a part of it for the last 3 months, so I've seen everything you guys have been doing.
So what does it look like from your side, what we've been doing? Does it seem more like has this helped the show aspect, like seeing the people who come to shows talk about shows?
Yeah, so absolutely. I learn more and more about shows, about the vendors side of things, what you guys deal with, and what you look for in a good show from your experience. Yeah, absolutely. It's helped with that a lot. It's part of the reason why I agreed to do this, is to learn more about it.
You're stealing our secrets.
I'm not stealing your secrets. You're giving them away for free.
I did want to ask you about the vendor area, now that you've talked about the celebrities, the programming, and the vendor areas, like the trifecta of building.
That is, yes.
Of building
the
a
one
convention.
over which I have the least amount of control, because you guys are going to be...
Yeah, but is there a certain amount of curating that goes into selecting vendors at the moment?
Not this year. We do want to get to that point. That was part of the original vision, was to curate our vendors. Although I will say we did not curate this year, but we still have a very good variety of different vendors. We've always wanted there to be, we don't want a lot of competition happening within that marketplace. So we want everybody to have their own space and sell their own products, and to not really be...
Not as much overlap.
We don't want somebody selling the exact same thing next to you, like 3 different comic book vendors or 3 different video game vendors or whatever. And in fact, the majority of our vendors are artists like yourself, people who create their own things and do not resell other things. We have a handful of toy sellers and video game sellers, but spaced so that they're not directly by each other, and also they are selling different things. I'm kind of communicating with all of them to make sure, okay, this person's going to do retro video games, what are you going to sell? And they're not going to sell retro video games, so you can only go to one table to get retro video games in the convention, if that's what you want to look for.
That's much more thoughtful than most places we go.
It's just, and again, this is what I've seen just going to other conventions. I've seen a lot of, it seems like there's just a lot of the similar vendors
just
here.
Yeah, I think when curating goes wrong is the people letting in the stuff that they like, but then it all looks the same. But what you're talking about, is like we already have a bunch of this stuff, and your stuff is good, but we already have that quota filled. So let's.
I'm terrified of going to a straight up curating system, because I'll feel like I'm being a jerk. Like, your stuff isn't good enough because we already have somebody selling that kind of stuff. So remember, and we have to sit there and judge who's got the better stuff or whatever. I don't know. I don't know how we do it.
Remember how you said that didn't like being the person that put out fires during the show, so you found someone who was good at that.
Yes.
You can find someone who is good at, objectively giving bad news.
But no matter how much you say you're being objective about it, people will...
You need to find a volunteer doctor.
Okay.
Right? Someone who's used to, because if you're saying... You need someone who is used to telling you, like, I'm sorry, the arm's got to go. Right? You need someone who is prepared to give that kind of news, to say, sorry, we have
you could
too
do what
many
some
Funkos.
conventions do and tell everybody it's a lottery and then just pick who you want to come in.
Oh my goodness, is that what people do?
It's
apocryphally. We can't.
Yeah, we can't confirm nor deny.
But it seems like that's what's.
So to jump in here from another perspective, I am on the committee that runs Prairie Comics Festival,
Very nice
which
event.
is takes place the first weekend of May. It's 3 years old, and we have a curating system because we have a capacity limit. We're going to be expanding in 2019. However, the thing is that when we quote unquote denied people who applied, it was mostly because they were sending us Dropbox links. They don't have a website. It was really unclear what they were selling, and we have a parameter where it's like you need to have a new comic every year, and they weren't demonstrating in a clear way that what they were doing would satisfy our festival.
And that's all clearly
mandate.
laid out, right?
Yeah, it is. And that it's a submission process, and that we go over portfolios and stuff like that. So those are kind of like, that's from the perspective of we curate it, and those are our criteria. And it's not that we're kind of sitting there going, well, your stuff isn't good enough for my convention. It's more like, is what you're actually putting on your table, like,
read the submission deadlines.
Yeah,
kind of that. But
guidelines.
I can't remember the craft show, but we were supposed to submit photos of our booths. Mm-hmm. Right? So one of the ways that they curated is like, okay, yeah, show us what you've got. Show us a picture of your last booth setup. And, I've talked to people, and you might think, but if I've never done a show before, then I can't do a first show. We saw people, it was their first show, and I asked them, how'd you get over that hurdle? They're like, well, we just set it up in our living room and send them a picture of what we've got. But it shows a preparedness to arrive.
It's like,
and be
are you going to
professional.
have good branding and like a very clear like backdrop? Do you have like different? Is your setup professional looking, or is it a Hilroy binder with some laminated slips in it, and that's your whole table? Because I have seen people like that who exhibit at shows, and it does diminish the people around them.
I agree, and we are definitely looking for that from our vendors, people who have. I mean, at the same time, we had a number of people come out last year and said that FanQuest was their first convention they'd ever tabled at, and I loved hearing that.
Yeah.
And they actually went to the trouble of getting a banner print. They actually went out and did some branding and created their own displays and did a great job with it. So I love to see that as well. There was only a handful of people who really showed up and just kind of popped stuff on a table, which is not what we want, essentially. You know what I mean?
Is there now I'm asking two showrunners here.
When are we running our show? When are we going to have a show?
No, I think we should put our energy into their shows.
Just slowly take over.
Because now that I've heard what is required.
I'm sitting here going, why are you adding another thing when you have so many other things?
I don't have one
When
yet.
you
I
have
want
literally
one.
hired me to do things so that you can do the things you want to do. You don't want to run a convention or
No,
a
but we're going to
festival,
help you guys by giving you lots of access to our stuff. I have a question. Is there a way to create... I don't know if you've... When you go to a club... And there'll be a little thing that says dress code in effect.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Is there a vendor equivalent to dress code in effect?
Yeah, I think once we get to a certain point, we can ask that. This year was the year I started thinking about. Like last year, I was just happy that people bought tables, and
Right.
we did it through a Kickstarter, which was a different way of doing things. So people could contribute to the Kickstarter, and that got them their table. And that was actually the bulk of the money we made on Kickstarter was from the artists
Pre-booking their spots.
and we loved it. We had such great support from the artist community here. And again, when we did it again this year, we announced our tables were for sale, and they all sold out in like 2 days.
Right.
And I was like, whoa, we didn't expect that at all. And so we thought, well, okay, now people are wanting to come back. We've built up our brand a bit, and people are wanting to be a part of our show. Hopefully everything goes well this year and people want to come back again. And so at that point, I think we can kind of start looking at more criteria for artist submissions.
So one thing that I always think, because we do a lot of shows and you have to promote the show yourself, right? Like, I'm going to be at this place. I'm going to be doing this kind of stuff. It's just part of it. But I always want a show. I've yet to attend a show that says, thank you for, signing up. Here is a bunch of images that you can post on your social media that help promote the show. Here's a bunch of stuff.
Shows do that. I think you probably just haven't checked your email.
That's not true.
Yep. I'm sitting here going like, yep, Prairie Comics does that.
Yeah,
Right. Well, I wasn't at Prairie Comics last year.
This
so.
is
No, I know.
again. It was funny you mentioned that because that's on my to-do list for today.
Right.
When we're done this, and I should have done it last week. To be fair, I've already had a couple emails saying, "Hey," because I did promise some of that when I sent out my big email to all the vendors, and then I just lost it in the other
Because it was
stuff
a
to
great
do.
set of
Oh, I know
posters
why, too.
that someone we know. Why do I not think of it?
Jeff.
He took all the characters from the original
Oh,
poster.
Nicholas Burns, my
Yeah.
uncle. My
Burns
uncle,
did
yeah.
those posters.
Yeah.
He did all the posters?
Yes. No, he did. Well, he did the image that we showed. It's the main poster where it's like he took all the characters that are the arms in our logo. He created the logo as well, and he broke out each arm into a full character. And he's got names and backstories for them, but I
Right.
haven't had a chance to get those from him.
See, I
But
want
maybe
those
he'll-
posters so I can post them around.
Well, I will give you all the files. I'm sending that stuff out today, including a map of. Now, this is another different thing. We're not posting a map with everybody's individual space marked out. I've given those to you guys, so you know where you're going to be. But what we're doing is we're going to send out a map of the overall building and where every section is, and then people can kind of point to, here, I'm in this section, and that's it. We don't want people. I mean,
It's not so big that that's
I don't
prohibited.
think. Yeah,
either.
Right,
you
right.
need that when you're a much bigger show.
Yeah.
3
Yeah.
years from now, you'll need it.
Yeah.
But right now,
Well, it's just we want people to walk through the entire space, everyone to go through the
Yeah.
entire space. So we're hoping that we're in this section. Okay, so they'll walk through the entire space looking for your table, but in the process they'll see a bunch of other stuff that they may not have known was there. So
And also, you'll have volunteer human beings who will be helping.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
A map is fine, but people just need to be told.
well, again, another lesson learned from last year is that not
Yeah.
everybody looks at your website. In fact, many people do not. So
I know.
all this information was on our website last year, and people still were very, very confused. The space was not as central. Last year, at U of W, we had the theater that was upstairs, up 3 flights of escalators, and that was like nobody knew how to get there, and it was too much to ask.
Winnipeg
people.
is also an extremely last-minute city. People don't plan for things.
Oh, man,
like
that's
I've done
just-
lots of events in Winnipeg, and you wonder till the hour before the event if anyone will come. And
This
if
is
you,
my fear. This is my fear right now,
right? And
Craig.
if you have it all
You're
on
putting
the
it to- oh,
if you
man.
have it all on the website, you can guarantee that 70% of the people who made the last-minute decision never checked the website. They heard from someone else who was going and then decided to go.
That's
Yes.
why you have 3 contingencies.
That's
The
right.
online information, the map available in your brochure, and the human who is like, let me take your hand and lead you into Wonderland.
Yes.
Because you can't do it yourself.
Hey, One-Eye, I'm talking to you, man.
Where can I find Cuervo Jones?
What do I look like, a tour guide?
What terrible, horrible thing that you didn't expect came with running shows have you had to face and overcome as a result of doing this?
Terrible, horrible thing.
Is it the void? Is it existential dread?
Yes.
I was here. Let me think here.
The fact that nothing comes immediately to mind, actually, I think
Well,
it's a
it
good
is,
sign.
but it's something that I should have anticipated and I didn't. It is the financial aspect of it. And this is like full disclosure. Last year we had a Kickstarter. We ran our Kickstarter. It was we made the money in. I used that money to get a lot of stuff done, and then I booked some other things because I figured we'd have even more people come.
Right.
I overestimated our attendance last year. I thought there'd be droves and droves of people out there, and for whatever reason there wasn't. It was fine. It was a fairly well attended event, but it just wasn't as well attended as I was hoping for, and that was like the source of a lot of my stress last year. So that would be the kind of the and it was we ended up we didn't make any money, but we broke even, and that's good enough. But I was hoping to make money so that we can move forward from that. So that's kind of that was the part that just caused me the most stress as far as
But
that.
that's a classic entrepreneur's
Oh man, yeah, I got
problem,
so excited. I got so
right?
excited about the Kickstarter being successful, and everyone seemed to be very excited about it. And then just not everybody was able to come out to the event. Even like the majority of our Kickstarter contributors were not the people who bought their passes through Kickstarter. Were buying passes to support us, but not necessarily to come to the
Right.
event.
Right.
And I really want people to come because there's no point in having an event. If an event happens and nobody comes, it doesn't really happen.
Right. And I mean, the thing is, what a lot of people think, like convention attendees, they think that running a convention is all fun and games and, oh, you get to book all these celebrities and, oh, it's really.
I just had dinner with William Shatner.
My train's just going to pull into the town and then we're just going to set up this beautiful circus and then we're going to leave. Oh, yeah, so glamorous, we say, with a lot of sarcasm. But it is running a business. You have created
even
a
if it's a
business.
not-for-profit business, it's still
a business. You
right?
have financials, you have audits, you have vendors, you have all of these people who you're financially responsible to, and it's not just like, "Ooh, we're just having a great time." You're having a great time, but there is a lot of stress behind it.
Oh, yes.
And people also romanticize running a business. I'm gonna run my little cafe, and I'm gonna have such a great life. And you're putting in 100 hours a week.
The thing about the hanging out with celebrities thing, I tell you, I barely talked to any of our guests last year because I was so busy with other stuff. The biggest thing for me was last year we had the beer and board games guys in, who I love. They're a YouTube group, also responsible for the Chad Vader series, which most people know. If you know anything about Star Wars, it's a fan series.
Yeah.
And so we did this beer and board games thing at the King's Head, which was a lot of fun. And Patrick Sabalgi was there, and he was on the show, and it was great. So in that moment, I allowed to myself to kind of relax and say, okay, this is why I'm doing this. So I had one moment of that, and it was back into the stress.
Right.
But I barely got to see anybody else. Like, it was like so busy for
So
me.
what-
I did not get to hobnob with celebrities. And I will probably not. I'll do a little bit. Hopefully, get a little more time this year.
Yeah, well, and celebrities are just regular folks.
Well, they are, and again,
But let me ask
I
you
use
this.
this word celebrity very loosely because they're not super famous. They're well known in their fields for what they do.
So I thought that was the last question, but it isn't. Now I hear that you need to be doing some self-care along the way. Here,
I do,
so it
yes,
sounds like.
yes.
So what have you put in place to ensure that you can squeeze a little bit more enjoyment out of the event while it's happening?
I've decided that the moment that those doors open, I'm not going to worry, but there's nothing I can do.
Right.
The moment that the doors open, the event has started.
It's like your wedding day.
It really is.
Yeah,
That's a good,
it's
that's a good
going to go
analogy,
by
yes.
very quickly, so might as well take a bunch of mental snapshots because you've done all of the planning and the worrying, and now you get to wear the big dress, Dan.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
you
get
guys
wear the
get
big
to
dress.
swan around.
That's I'm determined that is going to be what I do. And if any thoughts creep in that are worrying or anything, if something things are going to go wrong. It happens at every event. Something goes wrong. That kind of stuff doesn't worry me. But I'm just going to relax and have a good time. And so if you see me looking too stressed,
I was going to say,
remind me.
are
of
you
that.
going to be wearing a name tag or a sheriff's badge or anything that people can identify you so they can
Or a
come
helmet
and,
so they can't
so they
identify
can
you?
come and bring you like baking and like a
Flash.
security
You know
blanket.
that, isn't it like in World War II, the commanders did not wear their rank on their helmet because they didn't want to be
People
So
would-
identified?
snipers
Yeah.
wouldn't take
So
them
yeah,
out.
so like Tom Hanks, that whole thing in Saving Private Ryan is completely inaccurate because he would not have his symbol on his helmet like that. So I'm not going to do. I'm just going to blend in.
Can you blend in?
I've often
With the
wondered,
grunts.
like every time we're at like a show and somebody who looks like they're important stops by, and you're trying to figure out, is this an
they're
actor?
never wearing
Are
a
they
badge.
like,
Yeah.
do they run this event? Like they don't look like they're here for fun. They look like they're here for work.
Yeah, all business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Introductions are important, and I'm never going to assume that anybody knows who I am. So
Right.
if I need to introduce myself as some part of this convention organizing committee, I will do so. You
The
know?
kingly scepter, perhaps, you could hold.
But yes, I think the takeaway here, dear listener, is that conventions are hard work for everyone involved, especially the people who are the wizard behind the curtain, like Dan has been on this podcast and on his convention. And just acknowledge that when you're having a good time, that circus did not just pop itself up.
That's right. Yeah, it's hard work, but not impossible. And if you're going to, if you're in Winnipeg and you're planning to start a competing convention, don't pick what weekend?
June 23rd and 24th.
Right,
This
because
weekend coming up because this podcast will drop
That's
just
right.
before.
Because that
So-
one's taken, but there are plenty of other weekends you can. All right. Well, thank you very much. This has been Super Pulp Science, where we talk about how genre gets made, and particularly today, how conventions get made. Thanks for being our surprise guest, Dan.
You're welcome.
Our hostage.
Send help.
Send help. Join the fight and make comics.
Want me to just do it in my radio announcer voice?
Normal voice, yeah.
Too bad.